Tell me what Opportunity London is.
Well, for those that haven't seen our launch, Peter, it is this incredible partnership born out of the NLA with London and partners with a mission to bring the public and private sector together and really to attract that next 100 billion of investment for the capital across real estate, energy and infrastructure. We are at MIPIM this week. This is the first time we've taken London's investment perspective to the market. Obviously, London's been going to MIPIM for many years in various different guises, but I think this year is a real step up for London. We've come together as Opportunity London. You'll see a lot of that branding out there. Everyone's got the hymn sheet. Everyone knows the key sort of positioning for London as well. And I think for investors to know that we have all three levels of government, we have the major development corporations, we have a mix of different asset classes from the developers, from the house builders, from the mixed-use schemes, all working together for London. I think if any investor comes into the London stand this year with our partners, we'll know exactly where to take them and to showcase some of those opportunities for the future. I think what's also really great this year, we've got the improvement districts who are joining us from the city, from the West End, a lot of really good schemes that are seeking investment partners for place-based investment. So I feel like we're London's concierge, and MIPIM's a really good test for us of how we work together collectively. But it's really the start of our next 18 months of a global roadshow for London as we come together and really try and unlock these deals and these partnerships that we've been brokering with our partners across London. So often the question is, where's that 100 billion going to come from? And it's built on the fact that over the last decade, we've actually been pretty successful as a capital in terms of raising significant funds from cross-border investors. So whether that's the Elizabeth line, thinking about King's Cross, looking at also at Battersea Power Station. But I think for us here, part of our mission is to find those new sites, find those investment opportunities with the GLA family, with our local borough partners, with the City of London to unlock that next wave of 100 billion. And I think for a city to come together collectively to work like this is actually quite unique. You don't find this level of sort of commitment to actually work this way to unlock those deals and find that investment from around the world. Obviously, decarbonisation, net zero is the top of all of our agenda. So we need to think how we build the energy infrastructure, how we actually think about aggregating a lot of these really good schemes like heat networks and distribution plants. How do we think about powering some of our sort of data centers of the future as well? So I think energy is a big part of what needs funding for the capital. But equally, we've looked at about 6 different asset classes, and living comes up all the time. We've got to house the people of London. You know, we're moving to a 10 million populated city in the next decade. And actually, we need to ensure that everyone isn't living in Zone 6 and we have the right tenure of all types and sizes. And colleagues at the NLA and London Built Environment Community have been talking about this for a long time. But I think there's a recognition now that actually we're not going to have continuous money from the public sector, whoever forms the next government in 2025. So we're going to have to work with third-party capital that share our values, that want to meet those environmental improvements, that want to meet the social outcomes, that want to house Londoners. So a lot of those institutional funds, whether it's pension funds, sovereign wealth, who have a long-term view of looking after people and cities, they're the sort of investors that we'll be talking to as part of the London investment opportunities and pipeline, particularly in housing and energy for our future needs. So what do we do as an organisation to help attract this capital? I think, very crudely, I sort of say we're London's broker without a fee, which a lot of our agents don't necessarily agree with that or support that. But I think genuinely we're there to be the introduction, to match a pipeline of projects that have been really well assessed with our partners at Arup and JLL to make sure they are investable and they're going to attract the sort of size of investment that we want. And then talking to those top 30 investors from around the world, whether, as I say, they're sovereign wealth, institutional capital, pension funds, to try and do those introductions, try and broker those conversations. And already you can see on our pipeline of opportunities, and this builds on incredible work that Darren Rodwell and Nick McKeough were leading on with other partners about 18 months ago. There's over 100 investment opportunities across the 32 boroughs, across the City of London, of all types and sizes of different ventures. And that's an ongoing pipeline that is there. But we also have another couple of dozen projects at a very early stage. They're wanting to have conversations. They want to unlock perhaps a complicated deal in the market. And we're aware of these off-market deals, if you like. Some of them actually here in the City of London Corporation, but also right across, the capital. And then you have sort of the 9 schemes that are actually ready right now to go to market. They've got outline planning, or they're about to go through planning process this year. They've assembled the land. They're now at the point where they want to attract that third-party capital to unlock these deals. So I think the good thing about our role is we're aware of what's in the pipeline. We're aware of the type of investors and partners that our local borough partners in the City of London want. And hopefully through that network, we can unlock and make it a bit more frictionless, the process of trying to get some of these schemes delivered and meeting that 100 billion that we want for the capital in the next decade and beyond. Living in Australia for the last 12 months and spending time in Singapore and Malaysia and what's happening in Australia has sort of made me realize that global capital really does have a choice of where it wants to invest. And London has been very successful for many decades in securing cross-border transactions, but actually that race for new capital and ensuring the returns are there and the social and environmental impact is there, we've got competition around the world. So yes, London is still seen as highly regarded. It's a very liquid city. It's very secure in terms of its institutions and political certainty to a point. You could argue that at the moment, given what we're perhaps going through. But I think we've got to recognise for the next decade and beyond, if we're going to get to that net zero, if we're going to lead the world in the decarbonisation agenda, in the future of global cities, we're going to have to work a bit harder to unlock that capital. The other real benefit I think that we've had involved in the partnership in the last couple of months is Network Rail coming on board in terms of some of those big station sites that can be complicated. They need third-party partners, but also Places for London, the work of Graham, Craig and the team there. They've got an incredible portfolio of sites and they're looking at electrification of the network. They're looking at the housing we desperately need. They're looking at mixed-use projects. So I think for us to have a pipeline of individual schemes with our local authority partners and the City of London, to have a portfolio of sites with people like Network Rail and also Places for London, and then also working with our sub-regional partners. There's 4 sub-regional partnerships across the capital. Maybe there's energy or transport schemes that we can scale together that's going to become really attractive for the investor market in the future. Part of our global roadshow obviously is to attract capital from all parts of the world, and we've been doing an assessment with JLL to understand where the appetite is, where their investors will come from. Of course, there's a lot of investors who are based in London that have offices here of global capital, and we've been talking to them, and about 50 meetings actually since I've started in the last 3 months, both out in Hong Kong, but also with investors here. And the good news is there is appetite for London. I think at the moment, though, there's still a bit of risk around, when do they go for that transaction? There might be political risk, there might be cost of capital, but I think long term, we're still seen as a really good market. But part of taking our perspectives and our scheme is some of those key markets who are hungry perhaps for more sites in London, for different asset classes. So East and West Coast of America, looking at some of those endowment funds out there, looking at some of the pension funds as well, some of those sort of private equity institutional funds that we have out there in the US. Europe's still very much in favour with London in terms of going to Amsterdam and Paris. A lot of those sort of pension funds, institutional partners out there, sovereign wealth in the Nordics are very interested in London as well, so we'll be talking to them. And really the Middle East and the Far East, it's still a lot of attraction for London in particular. It seems everybody's out to the Middle East at the moment, but I think there's good flows both ways in terms of investment. Huge amount going on out there, but equally they still like to invest in London, and they have for a very long time. And out to APAC, the Australian super funds have just announced more money. Singapore, Malaysia, parts of sort of Hong Kong and China are going to be really important. So it sounds like I've covered off the world there, Peter, in terms of the London sort of global roadshow. But I think each of those markets will have different types of investors. The Department for Business and Trade is going to be really important for us because they have such excellent contacts and links on the ground. And actually taking Team London out there on territory, not just to attract investment, but also to understand what's happened with different projects, different partnerships. Whether we're looking at life sciences or logistics or the future of education institutions, we don't have all the answers here in London. So I think it's really important with our local public sector partners, but also with the industry, that we go out and just have a look and lift our eyes up to what some of these partnerships and opportunities could be for us here in the capital as well. I mean, our success is, have we decarbonised the capital? Have we got the housing that we need? Have we sorted out the transport? Have we recreated the future of the modern workplace with the sort of campus-style approach to lifestyle and well-being around that? Have we really scaled our life sciences and logistics and data centres? So I hope we would have an armoury of schemes that somewhere Opportunity London and our partners have been involved to unlock some of those deals. So I think that for us is the real test of success. But I think Perhaps some of the other softer measures of success for us is, do our partners find value in what we're doing? Do our local authority partners, the City of London, our other consortium of those with land and sites, they found value in what we're doing? And really have the investors found that we've been a useful front door? We've helped unlock deals. We've been able to connect to the right people and the right schemes. So, every year we'll be evolving this and assessing our success. But already in the 3 months that I've been involved, I feel momentum is really shifting. And I think when we come back from MIPIM and have a bit of a lie down for a few days, we can take stock. But certainly it feels we're heading in the right direction. I think it's a real moment for London to come together and really unlock that 100 billion prize that we want to achieve here.
First of all, tell me